Lisa Combs, and this week on Behavior Bites, we're going to be talking about a foundational behavioral strategy called chaining. And this is one of those behavioral intervention tools that is going to be invaluable to you. It's going to be one of your most commonly used tools, because once you recognize the power of chaining, you're going to think, oh my gosh, I can use this to develop academic behaviors. I can use it to develop social emotional behaviors, athletic behaviors, musical behaviors, and you've really been exposed to chaining your entire life. There are probably things that you learned through chaining that you don't even recognize. So the whole idea behind behavioral chaining is that very few behaviors that we perform in life are a single behavior. Most of them are a chain of smaller behaviors. And so when a behavior is challenging to you or to someone that you're trying to teach, breaking it down into its individual links in the behavioral chain is one way to make it much easier to teach. So even if you didn't know, I'm going to give you a really easy to understand example of chaining. Even if you didn't know how to know anything about playing the piano, you don't know how to read sheet music, I could still teach you to memorize how to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I would maybe teach you the very first note, and I teach you to find middle C, that's one skill, and hit it. Once you are able to find middle C and hit it, then I would teach you, okay, hit that twice. And then I would say, okay, that's the first two notes of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I'll finish the rest. So you play the first two notes, and then I'm going to finish it. And we practice that way together. You play the first two notes, and I play the rest. Once you have mastered your part of that, then I would teach you to do the next step in the chain. So you play the first two notes, middle C, and then I teach you how to find G and hit it twice. And so now you're playing the first two notes. And then I play the rest of the song. So you play, and I play. Right? And then I add one more step to your behavioral chain and teach you to play the next note, and I finish until you're playing the entire thing by yourself. That is an example of forward behavioral chaining. I give you the first step, and then I link the second step to your already mastered skills. Okay? We could also do it backwards. I mean, I could play most of the song and teach you to play the last note. And then you play the last note. And then I teach you to play, I play most of the song and teach you to play the last two notes to finish it out. So that would be an example of backward behavioral chaining. The idea, though, is that you're always teaching a new skill in the context of previously mastered skills, and you're adding just one step at a time. The great thing about that is that it builds a student's confidence. It breaks it down into small chunks that are easily managed, and it links to something I already know how to do. And so in that context, you can teach almost any skill: academic, behavioral, communication, athletic, musical. You can chain together small behaviors to teach very complex behaviors. And so how do you decide whether to forward chain or backward chain when you're teaching a new behavior? You have to decide which one makes the most sense, which one is going to be the most gratifying, and also which one is going to present the easiest skills first. So let's take an example of when you might want to backward chain something. You want to backward chain when the very first step that you'd be teaching is the most difficult step. So let's just take an example like zipping a coat. Those of us who've ever taught a small child how to zip your coat, you don't start by teaching them to engage the zipper, because that's the hardest part of the skill. You engage the zipper for them, and then they zip it up, okay? Because you want them to succeed with the part that you know they can do. So with any behavior that you're trying to shape in a student, you have to decide what are all of the small links in the chain that I'm expecting that student to do. And where is it going to be most successful to start? Should I teach them the first skill and wait and add to it as they go forward? Or is it best if I just have them do the last step and add to their chain backwards. That's going to be a decision that you have to make based on the student and based on the skill that you're developing. So this week, I want you to kind of think about a behavior that you're wanting a student to do, whether it's an academic behavior, whether it's more of a work skill or study skill behavior that you're wanting them to do, whether it's meeting a classroom expectation for behavior, and think about what are the component skills or the links in that behavioral chain so that you can think whether you could develop that skill by teaching one link at a time and linking the next skill to the previous skill. Also recognize, just a little bit of a word of warning, that sometimes we accidentally create behavior chains that we don't want because we kind of connect a consequence that that the student sees as reinforcing. So for instance, if a student, let's say, is a connection seeking kind of kid and wants your attention, and you are busy teaching and I push the student next to me, I push the person next to me, and you stop what you're doing and say, please keep your hands to yourself. And so I keep my hands to myself, I start doing my work, and you say, good job, great work, I'm going to give you a sticker for that. Then next time when I am needing some connection and affirmation from you and I'm not getting it, I may go, and push the kid next to me again, and you come over and say, please stop doing that. Now, that right there is a negative consequence, right? Theoretically, except that I remember in my mind that, oh, but when I stop, then she gives me a reward. So I push the person next to me so that you will tell me to stop, so that I can stop, and then you will reward me. That's an example of how sometimes when we look at a student's behavior, we have to look at the links that came before it and wonder, have I developed a behavior chain where this student is kind of developed a behavior of responding after a certain series of events occurs. So keep that in mind. I want you to kind of spend the next week looking at least one behavior and breaking it down into its component steps and seeing either how you could teach that behavior by forward or backward chaining, or you can look at a student's behavior that has developed and ask yourself, what is the behavior chain that is leading to that behavior if I'm wanting to change it? Hopefully that is a strategy that you can use over and over in your working with students, and I hope that you're able to apply it right away. Thanks, and have a great day.